I guess to take it a little bit further, I would also think when I'm sailing along, take fleet racing for example around here. Sometimes it might be better to foot off and sail underneath and below a boat rather than tack. And I've certainly, the first time I experienced that was in Cork back in 2000, where we were coming up behind a boat that was a little bit slower than us, but it was only slower because they were pointing really high, and it was really quite light winds. So we just footed off a little bit, sailed through to their lee. We were only about 3-4 boat lengths to leeward of them, and then we were able to get, with that pace, get our boat back up onto the pointing. And we actually ended up pointing higher than them and came out in front of them. And they were a boat that was matched pace for us, but they were just trying to point too high and sail too high. So had we tacked twice, because we wanted to go that way, we would have lost far more. It was a much bigger boat, so it wasn't about roll tacking and that. But we would have lost far more had we done a couple of tacks in that situation. So doing the tack isn't necessarily always the right thing to do if actually you want to go in a particular direction. And you'll be able to do that around certain boats and certain people within the fleet. So I guess it's about understanding how everybody else performs, because we all sail differently, as we've pointed out. I can't match Neil at all in pointing in the light winds. Stuart asked the question earlier, and we would all love to be able to point as well as Neil in the light stuff, and we just couldn't keep in touch with you. We were just lucky the event wasn't light all the time, otherwise you'd have won it. But no, joking aside, everybody's got their own style. So understanding who sails what way is really key to understanding how am I going to negotiate the situation that you find yourself in.
Would it be interesting to hear what you guys do through a tack? Is that interesting for anyone to know how you do it quite quickly? It might be enlightening for some of us to know how we tack, and then maybe just the order you do things in, and how you set your sails when you come out, or how you move the weight around. It's probably second nature. You don't really know how
it's
to
a
do
bit,
it.
but I guess I go back to my base settings. We've got the jib and we've got the marks. So with the jib marked, I would expect when we come out the tack the jib to be 1 inch or 2 inches away from that mark, so that I know in the lighter stuff certainly that we can get the boat back up to speed, so we're not losing as much boat speed. And then with everybody up on the side of the rail, then one person would reach in and just pull in that last little bit once we've got the boat back up to the target boat speed. So I guess that's one part of it.
What kind of speed would you be up to? Like, say you were making the 4.5. What kind of speed would you be up to when you just pulled the last?
As soon as I'm at my target in my head is 4.5. Then as soon as I'm at that, then I want to get my sails to the.
So you'd wait till you were all the way up to full speed before you tightened the last little bit in. Right, okay.
In the lighter stuff, but when it's stronger, then I would probably be bringing the sails in. Well, I would be bringing the sails in earlier.
Right.
To my base position.
As far as steering it, you come round, and you say you come round quite slowly.
Yeah.
You bang on the direction you want to go. There's no.
Or are you sailing a little bit freer when you come out of that then?
Yeah.
Until you've built your speed up, and then you come up to pointing.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm trying to think what I do. I think I start off the first half of the tack before the sails get into the middle of the boat. I do that bit quite slowly, and then I think I speed up a little bit to get the boat through the wind and a little bit further than the close hauled, but only marginally beyond close hauled, so that we can foot off and get a bit of pace to then come back up. But I guess it depends on the situation you're in, because sometimes I'll do it the other way around, where it's quite quick to begin with, and then I'll slow it off to try and keep the height. And I guess that's maybe something that we would do in the lighter stuff to try and keep your windward ground when you're going through attack.
Yeah, so sort of slow to start with, the helm down just a few inches to sort of take the boat into the tack, and then you try and sort of flip the boat over when you roll the weight, and at that point you're pushing the helm right over to bring the boat through the wind, and then you pause at that point, and during that pause, boat's heeled over, you start to straighten the helm, and then people move up to windwards.
So once you're back on your course again and you're starting to pick up speed, that's when you'd bring people up.
How much tiller would you use?
I suppose the tiller's going to the side deck. I couldn't tell you really.
It's
Not
a bit-
sort of all the way over.
Yeah, I don't. I think I let go almost and let it pull it out of my hand a little bit, and I think I try and get it so that the tiller doesn't go. If for example, if the side deck on the inside of the boat was to just be another foot or two taller, I wouldn't want the tiller to go any further than that. But I think sometimes I may go between the inside of the side deck and then the gunnel on the outside. But I certainly wouldn't want to have the tiller really hard over. And for me, I'd like it to try and pull it out of my hand so that it's a natural, and I guess that's why I like to go slow in first, that it's a natural manoeuvre that the boat's wanting to go through the tack. So I'm trying to sail the boat with a little bit of weather helm all the time, so that it's just trying to pull it out of my hand. Not trying to yank it out of my hand, but just enough so there's a bit of feel there. So that, yeah, I let it go and the boat starts to automatically try and head up into the wind, and then if it needs it, I'll give it a wee push just to edge it through.
Is that about what you do as well?
Yeah, you're just trying to avoid jerkiness, trying to let people know you're going to tack. Sometimes helps. You end up with everybody sitting on the same side, don't you? So you end up with the sails on the same side as you. So the cardinal error is to go up too early. So you wait until the sails are full and then go up, but it does depend on how much wind there is, of course.
Yeah. I guess depending on where you are in the boat, it's easy for everybody behind the coach roof to sit on the old windward side as you come through the wind, and you're hiking the boat over on top of you for a roll tack, so that the boat's now heeling over on top of you. The sails aren't quite set yet, and as soon as the sails are ready to set, that's when you would be walking up to the other side to flatten the boat, and then as the sails are setting at that point, you're getting the power out of the flattening of the boat to eke the boat forward. So it's easy for everybody behind the coach roof and from the person controlling the jib back, but you've got somebody that might be going through the gap underneath the boom in the coach roof, and then you've got somebody else going around the front of the mast. And I guess what's really important for those people to be wary of is that if they jerk their manoeuvres around the boat, they can actually interfere with the jib itself if they kick the jib sheet when they go around the front of the mast, going through the gap. So you've got to be careful and light and dainty on your feet when you're going round the front of the boat there. And then the person that might be going either through the coach roof, or I've seen it in some cases where the person in the second from the front actually comes back and then runs behind the person that's controlling the jib. Whilst that works for some people, depending on how precious people are of their cockpit area, then I guess it's not necessarily the ideal solution. You might get somebody over smoothly, but actually you've moved maybe another 40, 50 kilos or 80 kilos, depending on what size the person is, but you've moved all that, another metre or two further back in the boat. And if you move that amount of weight further back in the boat, then you start to wheelie. And as soon as you start to dig that back end in, then the boat's going to slow down an awful lot more. So it's just something to be conscious of, is where you're putting your weight. And having practicing it, I know we're going to have a session in April, so doing that type of roll tacking in all weathers would be really good to practice.
Well, we've just got a couple of minutes left. If there's anything burning that anyone wants to ask before the end.
I think the one thing about tacking in strong winds, I insist on having the crew lead 2 turns around the bottom winch and 2 turns around the top winch, so you don't have somebody mucking about on the wrong side of the boat for well after you've tacked.